Donald Trump speaking at Arlington National Cemetery yesterday when I started getting alerts on my cell phone. I was out with the family, but apparently Donald Trump said something really inappropriate. What did he say, I wondered? The headlines, boom, 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 on my phone. ABC News, Trump takes veiled swipe at Biden in Memorial Day remarks. People magazine, President Trump calls Biden administration scum in heated Memorial Day speech. The Guardian, Trump peppers Memorial Day speech with personal boasting and partisan attacks. What did he say? I was distracted. What did he say? I was so distracted. As soon as I got home, I put on the speech, and when I heard it, I couldn't believe it. It was somber, really uneventful. 17-minute address. I thought the president said all the right things, but then it happened. And I'm going to warn you, if you've got small children in the room, you might want to ask them to step out of the room for just a moment. Take a listen to what Donald Trump said.
Those young men could never have known what their sacrifice would mean to us, but we certainly know what we owe to them. Their valor gave us the freest, greatest, and most noble republic ever to exist on the face of the earth, a republic that I am fixing after a long and hard 4 years. Who would let that happen? People pouring through our borders unchecked, people doing things that are indescribable.
Okay, call the kids back into the living room. Did you hear it? That was it right there. That's what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump said that America just went through a long, hard 4 years under Joe Biden with people pouring over the border unchecked. The president then asked a question that we've been asking for the better part of 5 years. Why would anyone do that to their own country? We now know at least part of the answer to that question. Joe Biden was never in charge. And the same members of the media who told the public that Joe Biden pardoned 1,500 people with an auto pen are the same people trying to convince you now that what Donald Trump said at Arlington National Cemetery is somehow controversial. It is not. And we aren't saying that because you're watching Newsmax. We're saying it because it is the truth. The last 4 years under Joe Biden were absolutely awful in many measurable ways. But the real story is one the media is not really interested in covering. The cover-up of the vegetable we had in the White House for 4 years and the people who let it happen. A scandal that these same people now claim is bigger than Watergate.
The next line is, it is an entirely separate scandal. It is a scandal.
Yes.
It is without question, and maybe even worse than Watergate in some ways.
Right.
It's not Watergate.
Right.
This is an entirely separate scandal. Maybe even worse. Maybe even worse.
Okay, so Jake, the real question, and it doesn't take a journalist to figure this out, how did you miss it? How did you miss what was so obvious to so many other people? And the answer is simple. Jake missed it because Jake didn't want Donald Trump back in the White House, so Jake Tapper missed it on purpose. We should also mention that Jake spent the weekend complaining about conservative media outlets not inviting Jake on to talk about his book. Jake, nobody wants to help you sell your book. We're all sick of talking about it because we all knew that Joe Biden wasn't well. And now we're sick of people like you swooping in when the credits are rolling, trying to take credit for something that you didn't do. For the record, we have invited Jake to come on Finnerty, but so far crickets from the Tapper camp. But we thought that maybe after the years of lying that have been exposed by the left, we thought maybe this weekend we'd start to see a shift from the media. But of course, that's just never going to happen. The media are like a smoker with lung cancer who keeps lighting up. The media keep lighting up even if it leads to their death, which it is. And we are going to continue to call this stuff out because other people aren't. This weekend, it was something all new. Forget about Joe Biden and his health. Let's start talking about Donald Trump and his health.
It is time for Republicans to start calling him out and start questioning his mental acuity and whether or not he is equipped to serve mentally.
Listen, I'm going to tell you this. People tried to talk about the mental acuity of Joe Biden. And as someone who was able to interact with him, I never questioned his mental acuity.
All right, what Jasmine seems to be forgetting is that it was never about Joe Biden's age. Never. I mean, he was older, oldest president ever, but it was never about his age. It was always about his brain. And comparing Donald Trump's performance in office through 125 days to any 125-day period of the Biden presidency would be like Larry Bird playing horse with my 6-year-old son. There is no comparison. And after two innocent Jewish diplomats, 26 and 28 years old, were brutally murdered last week, the front page of the New York Times on Saturday, writing that the attack complicates the pro-Palestinian movement. First of all, it was not an attack, New York Times. It was a double homicide. It was a murder. But these continued references to this pro-Palestinian movement, I've got news for you. It's not a movement. There's no movement. It's a mental condition. These people are insane. And then we saw this headline yesterday, the New York Times front page above the fold on Memorial Day. The rise in killings by police dims George Floyd's legacy. Oh, it dims his legacy. The legacy of St. George Floyd. Jasmine Crockett even tweeted that George Floyd should be alive today, and we agree with Jasmine Crockett. And if George Floyd didn't resist arrest, he would be alive today, and we wish that were the case. But for whatever reason, the media, the same media that we've been talking about, still insists that you believe their narrative when it comes to George Floyd. Their narrative that this sweet, precious, adorable suburban father was murdered by a corrupt and racist white police officer in Minneapolis, but the facts tell a much different story. According to the autopsy report of George Floyd, quote, no life-threatening injuries were identified to his body at the time of death. No facial or muscular injuries, according to the autopsy. George Floyd had 11 milligrams of fentanyl in his system at the time of death. That would kill almost anybody else. He was also high on meth at the time of his death, and he had COVID, and he was suffering from a heart condition. Tim Walz, Tampon, Kamala's running mate, tweeted that Gwen and I are holding George Floyd's family and friends in our hearts and prayers. Minnesota continues to mourn his loss and honor his legacy in hopes that it might make our state better for generations to come. This is about George Floyd. Was the whole thing tragic? Yes. But is the whole thing being reported not accurately? We think yes. George Floyd and the Free Palestine movement, these are the people the Democrats in this country choose to honor on Memorial Day, by the way. At Wake Forest University over the weekend, Scott Pelley, a former CBS Evening News anchor, was invited to speak at graduation when he said this.
Then why are we afraid to speak? The Wake Forest class of 1861, they did not choose their time of calling. The class of 1941 did not choose. The class of 1968 did not choose. History chose them. And now history is calling you.
Great speech. What did he just say? What did he say? What you just heard was a member of the media comparing this year that we're all living through right now, 2025, to three of the deadliest periods, not just in American history, but in world history. So how are they connected, Scott? Well, let's start with this year we're living through right now, 2025. In the fall, Donald Trump won a free and fair election against a woman who didn't get a single vote. He won the popular vote, the Electoral College, all 7 battleground states, the House and the Senate. But according to Scott Pelley, 2025 is just like 1861, 1941, and 1968. Let's go through that. Scott, shall we? 1861 was the year the Civil War started, the deadliest war on U.S. soil in American history, North against South. Republican President Abraham Lincoln and the Union Army fighting to free the slaves. 1941, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. America would respond by declaring war on the Axis powers and enter World War II. 400,000 Americans would die, the deadliest war by far in world history. Finally, 1968, a year of social unrest, riots and protests on college campuses across the country that culminated with the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Bobby Kennedy. But according to Scott Pelley, 2025 is the exact same thing. He said so in his speech. You just heard it. This coming from people who still support a party that is so lost that on Memorial Day weekend, another Democrat in Congress just flew to Central America to try to meet with Kilmar Abregu Garcia. Yes, Democrats are still apparently doing this, meaning instead of flying to Arlington National Cemetery on Memorial Day to honor Americans who gave their lives for our country, Glenn Ivey thought it was a good idea to visit with a criminal illegal gangbanger in his home country.
I'm the congressman that represents Kilmar. I came all the way down from the United States after we'd contacted their ambassador, after we'd made formal requests to our ambassador to the El Salvadoran government. And we came here to visit him today. And now they're telling us we got to go all the way back to El Salvador, to San Salvador to get a permit. That's ridiculous. They need to just cut the crap, let us get in there and have a chance to see him and talk with him.
Yeah, they did not get a chance to see him or talk with him.